Hey, welcome back. I'm super excited, and so are you. I know you are. You know how I know you are? Because Melissa's here, and Melissa has been here for a number of months helping us with our digital marketing. And you guys know that I follow Melissa's lead and I do my follow-ups and I look at my analytics, and this woman is on top of it, and has helped us so much. But in looking at my analytics, you guys love Melissa. Because her shows are right up there in the top 3 shows that you guys are watching and continue to watch. And so I know that we talk a lot to entrepreneurs and people that are making change in their business, entrepreneurs, and self-funding creatives and media. And it's been incredible. And people like Melissa help us make that easier and better. And so you guys are clearly enjoying the teachings that she's doing, which is one of the reasons why we so wanted her on Mission Accepted, is to help us, because as entrepreneurs, we tend to carry all of the hats. We wear all of the hats until we either get really good at one and we ace it, or we get good enough and hire it. And I always tell people, and Melissa will tell you, like, I was kind of picking her brain for quite a time. I didn't really understand conceptually digital marketing 3 years ago the way I do now. And I'm like, what is digital marketing? What does it mean? What does it cover? What doesn't it cover? That whole thing. And so I kind of picked her brain until I started to understand it enough to know, who to hire. And then of course, well, she's the best. So we hired her. And then she graciously is coming on the show to share with you guys some digital marketing techniques and just some marketing techniques in general. Because if you have more success in your business, then we know that your passion, your path behind what it is that you do is about changing lives, right? It's about making things better, making things easier. And your success is our success, and our success is your success. That's how we play in these wonderful times of helping each other do their business, because we know that when you succeed, so does everybody. That's what I love about actually one of the most powerful things that I see and I experience in this, I don't know if you want to say new way of doing business or new world of doing business, is that even for some of us that just strictly do business online, and we're going to talk about that as well, is that the heart behind people helping people has been exponential, I think, because we had a bit of a wake-up call that really drove people together. Like knowing that some industries were really affected and some industries needed to evolve and pivot and change, which I think really lays a lot in digital marketing and how to market in a world that we didn't know before. And so there was as much time explaining and supporting and helping. I mean, I talked about it this morning on a Facebook Live about how, entrepreneurs have also had this ego. We come from a place where it's like, we think we need to know everything. And this has been one of those times where we really had to go, you know what, like white flag. I don't know how to do a Facebook Live or bring somebody on, or Instagram what, like what, or what's a reel, you know what I mean? And depending what generation you come from, there was a lot more learning. And then on the opposite side of it, where people were just, they knew about, online marketing or whatever it was, but they didn't know what it was like to sign a contract. They didn't know still the beauty in bricks and mortar. They didn't know how to have those relational conversations. So everyone's been in this massive learning curve. And so I have no doubt that's why Melissa's, podcast episodes have been so popular with you guys. So here she is back again. How's that for a really long, lengthy intro? But it really is true. As we've been discovering this, it's been more and more information and sharing. And I know that we're going to have some great conversation today around follow-up and cold calls and those kind of things. But anyways, Melissa, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thank you so much. And I think it's just been really, really incredible to see the response, and it makes my heart so happy, because one of the things that is a pet peeve of mine, being a marketing agency owner, serial entrepreneur like yourself, is even sometimes when you might hire a digital marketer, I feel like there's all of these question marks around, like, what does this mean? Like, I know they're working on stuff, but what does it actually mean? Like, what are we actually aiming for? So, and it's no secret, a lot of the industry benchmarks that we aim for and best practices, it's not hidden, like the information is there, but I find a lot of times people don't really know where to look. And even if you're not at the point where you can afford or maybe want to work with an agency, there's a lot of information out there for free on those best practices that you can incorporate into your own business for success. So I'm happy to be here and just share some of that information, hopefully in a way where, you can take from it what works for you and apply it and actually start seeing some of those results on your own. So it's been really awesome, and happy to be here today to continue that conversation.
Yeah. I mean, I think very much so when you have something per se new. I mean, we know marketing is not new, right? Marketing is not new. I teach things on innovative marketing like QR codes, like that was new. That was new until we all decided we wanted to eat at a restaurant, and then we had to get our head around it. Sometimes it's been forced activity, but when you really take the look at digital marketing, right? There was print marketing, television, right? It's just one more piece of those same principles of having the word get out about what it is that you do, market yourself, market your products in a form that's not a magazine. So I just think it takes a while. And hats off to you, because you came into that innovative place of people didn't know what we did. People didn't know what we were doing necessarily. So anyways, let's kind of dig in a little bit about that. I know today we're going to talk about one of the kind of pain points, I think, for all people in marketing. And you do this so well. So you help people lead generation. You help people break into new platforms and let them know what it is that they do, in the world of digital or social, however you want to call it. And then as those leads come in, what happens? So what happens, Melissa?
That is a good question.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, because you guys are taking all this information and you're applying some of it. And I know that you're working with some good people that I know, and you're getting really big numbers and you're getting really big response for people. What happens for people in that place?
So if anyone in the marketing space, another agency owner, I'm about to share something that we all talk about behind closed doors, and you guys are all going to hear it right now. One of our biggest pet peeves is when we're working so hard, we're bringing in, new engagement, new leads from all these different channels, and we are building this incredible base of people who already know you. We're nurturing them so they like you. We're building that relationship, and you're dropping the ball when it comes to long-term nurture and follow-up. So a lot of times, it's exciting when you're getting new leads, and you can automate a lot of those nurturing contact points and stuff. And without getting into too much detail, we also incorporate some of that too, right? But you can only automate so much. And we're always talking about, because obviously in our business as agency owners, like, we're on the ball with follow-up and stuff. And we do struggle a lot of times with some clients who may not have a sales team in place yet. And that's totally fine. You can have success without it. So anyone who has a sales team in place, or even one or two dedicated people getting on the phone with their leads and having those real conversations, they're doing fantastic. But it is definitely a struggle when you don't have that and you're not taking advantage and getting the most value out of all of those people that are getting eyes on your offer. So, and we struggle with communicating sometimes, I think, the importance, or just really nailing it home. And, one personal phone call, Deb, and I know you can speak to this, like, one personal phone call, it can be magic. That can be the one thing that sets you apart to close your high ticket offer, whether it's a mastermind or, even, for example, like med spas, like closing a sale for a high ticket service. It doesn't only have to apply to the online space, but it's like, one of the common points that I hear so much is, well, I don't want to bother people and all this stuff. It's like, they're already in your world. Like it's just that mindset of, I'm sure they would love to hear from you, like, they're in your space. And even in terms of setting yourself apart from others in the space, like, you're not gonna get a lot of people picking up the phone and calling you saying, hey, thanks so much for joining my webinar last night. Now, coming into the webinar, the contact points may have been automated. They may be opted into a funnel. They got the automated emails. Now they're there. How many people are going to pick up the phone and give them a call and say, thank you so much for joining? Do you have any questions about what we're doing here? Because I would love to have you in my inner circle. Imagine the impact of that. And if you haven't tried it, seriously, give it a shot. Do it with a handful of people. Make a list of maybe 20 people, give them a call and see how it goes. You would be shocked at how willing people are to speak with you, because I feel like with all the automation available now, a lot of that personalization is, people aren't prioritizing it as much, and they're making excuses to not prioritize it. That's the part about it that we don't like, so you just got to get over your excuses and try it. And it can make a huge difference in sales for your business.
So let's talk about that, because there's a couple of things that come up. So we know, look, I've done sales training for a long time. I've owned direct sales companies. I've worked with people that are super nervous. I work with people that love the product and don't know how to talk about the product. I know the people that are even successful in their business and don't know how to talk the business to people. And the theme of not knowing enough, not knowing how to close, not knowing how to open a conversation, not all that kind of stuff comes up. I don't want to be salesy, all that kind of thing. That's one thing to work through. First of all, you're not salesy. I always tell people, if let's not to insult IKEA. I'm just going to use them as an example because most people know the store. So you walk into an IKEA or you walk into a Costco, I don't care, and you're looking for something specific. Would you not beg and thank the powers above if someone walked up to you and said, hey, can I help you with something? Do you know what I mean? Are you looking for something specific? You'd be like, oh, angels singing. And so why are we afraid to be that person? Mm-hmm. That's one side to it. But if you are in the world of digital marketing, if you are, having things, if you're having people actually come to your events, if you're having people that are sharing, you know what I mean? If you have people that are doing that, then they already know you to a certain degree, whatever that looks like. They know you to a certain degree. And you are just actually topping up. You're just inquiring on something that they've seen, other than it could be a post, it could be a Facebook ad, it could be a Google ad, it could be anything above. And you're talking about people picking up the phone and calling. You already have a rapport. Mm-hmm. They've already given you permission. So I don't know what to say, well, that's out the window because they've already heard you. And either they heard you or they saw you and it was your words, right? I mean, I know I work with you, Melissa. It's not like you take words from somebody else and go, hey, Deb, I think these would be great words for you to use. I mean, it's all your words when you're working with a digital marketer. It's your words, it's your place, it's your, it's your heart, it's your, it's your song you're singing. So there really shouldn't be too much of it. But here's where I think the gap happens. We are in a world right now where people are saying that, you can work from home and you can do this and you can work it in and it's easy. And if I hear one more thing saying that you can make, $10 million in 35 days and you can write your book in 10 days and all that kind of stuff, that's really interesting. Right. But the point, like, I'm just like, that's my interesting comment to that. But I think what happened is, one is we've somehow lost our voice in relationship to thinking we have to close the deal, that everything can be automated and everything can be this. And I think that you can automate the most of what you do. I mean, honest to goodness, I mean, you've been a saving grace for me as I'm, sitting with my hair in a ponytail. But when I need a question of something that I'm working with you, I text you and we talk on the phone. And I don't think people see that in the world of digital marketing. I don't think they see that final piece or that close, because you can have people sign up for things. You can, I send people a video about this big project that I'm doing, the big, 262 project. They watch the project, and then if they're inspired, we have a phone call. So I really think that from a closing standpoint, particularly high ticket items online, I don't know about you guys, but I wouldn't walk into, let's say, IKEA. I wouldn't walk into IKEA and I wouldn't probably spend $10,000 on a couch or $5,000, or decide to spend a year every week with that couch for, $15,000 if some sales rep hadn't come to tell me the quality of the fabric, how long that couch is going to last me, the impression that's going to make, how me and my kids and my dogs and my cats are all going to sit there. It's going to make every Netflix movie we've ever watched so much more attractive, so much more home. You know, my Thanksgiving pictures with my family is going to be on that couch. Like, people need to hear why you're going to spend $15,000 to have that couch in your life. You know, I don't know why I'm picking couch or why I'm picking on IKEA today, but I think it's the final piece that we don't talk a lot about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And it's almost like somewhere along the lines, when people think about or maybe get anxious about the possibility of picking up the phone and calling people, it's almost like what's holding them back is this mix up between cold calling, which is, those telemarketing calls that you get. Cold calling is very different from what we're talking about. Just to clarify for everyone here, these are people that are already in your world. They've come through usually a sales funnel of sorts. They've opted in, they've consented to communication too, right? That's another important piece. Make sure you have the consent to contact these people, right? They like your stuff. At some point, they willingly exchange their contact information to enter your space. So yeah, and not to be confused with cold calling, definitely. It's adding that level of personalization where, and this is right across, this is all different sorts of niches, offers, like right across the board. People are really missing out on this huge opportunity. And yes, like a lot of people will have sales teams over time. Once they see the value in this, they're like, okay, yes, we need people to follow up with our leads who aren't closing. Because we're missing out on huge opportunities. So a lot of people do eventually hire, but even if you're doing it yourself, make a list, just get on the phone, set aside even one day a week where you just set aside, your morning and just do it and see what happens. And another thing that I hear people say sometimes is they're like, well, I don't like it when people call me, I opted into their funnel, and what if I wouldn't like it? Okay. So let me share the perspective with you from somebody who has seen this play out across so many different spaces. There are people out there that would agree with you. The percentage, and I'm going to reiterate right now that sales is a numbers game, okay? The percentage of people that feel that way based on all of the data and statistics over, I don't even like hundreds and thousands, if not millions of data points that we have access to as agency owners. It is so small. So don't let that stop you from doing it. I know it can be hard to get over, but yes, there are people out there like that. And anyone who's been involved in sales, and Deb, what's the worst that can happen? They say no, or, never call me again. And we're not saying this to be like, these like icky telemarketing people. It's not that. You are coming from a place of the reason why you do what you do is because you truly care about people and you want to help them. You're coming from a place of you want to help them. It's a totally different mindset. And I think that people, when they can tell that you're on the phone with them because you really want to help them with a problem, or, hey, what did you think of this? And you genuinely want to have that conversation, people will let their guard down a bit. That's a very different conversation from, say, hey, like, I noticed that we met over here and you didn't buy my stuff. What gives? That's very different, so it is a little bit about approach too, but I find the major hurdle to overcome is that mindset and those misconceptions about how people will receive them when they get on the phone with them.
Well, here's the interesting thing. I mean, we're talking about people that have paid for digital marketing. We're talking about people that have already decided to be an entrepreneur. We're talking about people that have already said yes. I mean, look, at this show is all about saying yes, and it's mission accepted. And so you accept it once, and then you accept it again, and you accept it again, and you learn and grow as you go along through that journey. And so I think that it's illusionary to believe that you have something to share to the market, either service or product, and that you're never going to talk to anyone again. Yes, we had a pandemic and we went a lot from offline to online, but no one said we're never going to talk to anyone again. No one said that we're not going to share or answer or solve problems. I mean, you can't solve problems, behind a screen, right? So I think that if someone's really struggling with that, I think it's a mindset issue. I think you've nailed it. It's a mindset issue. It's not, I don't even know so much if it's, I don't want to be salesy in this kind of scenario, or I don't know what to say to them, or I don't want them to just go, hey, I want to buy your products. I think there's two things that come into play. One is, I think as an individual, if you're a solopreneur and you're doing all this marketing, that one of the things that's probably glazing your prefrontal cortex as you listen to this is, where am I going to find the time? And that's where your sales agents can come in. You can hire people, and you can hire people like on a small term basis. Like, this doesn't have to be, you have a whole full sales funnel of, 12 people overseas calling all your leads or what have you. First of all, if you have their information, they've given you permission. That's one. You wouldn't give someone your phone number if you didn't give them permission. So that's kind of illusionary. So you have that rapport. But the second thing is, you're here to solve a problem for somebody. And if you don't know what the problem is, how are you going to solve it? So I've been on webinars, you've been on webinars. We're having conversations in our head. We're having conversations in our head. As I'm watching a Netflix movie, I'm having a conversation in my head. I'm watching something through my own perception. If there's no one to tell me that information I'm taking in is inaccurate, or that there's a payment plan I could work out, or that, they're going to run it again next week, or if you don't have that conversation with me, how am I supposed to know? I can only listen to what it is that you have to say. But maybe the day that you're doing your big coaching online get together, free, blah, 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 worth $15,000 for $42 happens to be the day of my daughter's bridal shower. And it's not going to matter what you say on that masterclass. I'm not going. But if you call me and go, hey, I noticed that you were on and you didn't register for the next class, I just love to either, find out why, or if there's another date that's available and you find out it's my daughter's bridal shower, you're like, oh my gosh, let me send you some flowers. Do you know what I mean? It's a whole different ballgame. And then people feel like they get to be heard. And I know we've talked about this before. You may not be able to call everybody. If you're doing a $29 class, you may not be able to call everybody. You'd want to call people, but that's maybe where the sales leads, come in, or a sales agent touching base with them, or some other form of continued marketing. But if someone's looking to spend some time or some energy with you, or look, we all know the $29 class comes with a $599 class. It comes with a $15,000 coaching program. We all know that it prominently one step leads to another. And so you can even go in on that premise. And it's like, look, there's some things that I teach complimentary. Like I just teach it for free, right? And I end up having long conversations with people about that, because you just never know what you never know. And I think that sometimes we get a little concerned, like I would spend all my time on the phone, but it's okay, because you don't need to talk to everybody. Like, how many people do you want in your class? Or if you talk to this many people and you ask them to bring somebody, or same thing as when I did a trade show, when I used to do trade shows, I'm sure we were the only table that called our leads. And it took a lot of time, but I was number one in my company 5 years in a row in acquisition. And people are like, you should do social media. I'm like, well, this is obviously not last year, but I was doing trade shows. But the difference that I was making in my sales was, it wouldn't matter if I was on social media, and it wouldn't matter if I was on a trade show. It's just that I actually picked up the phone and called the lead. So I think, to your point, I could have been number one if I just done social media, and I could have been number one if I never did social media, but it was the follow up to your lead, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think, we intuitively know sometimes the leads that are better quality than others. Plus, if they are coming through a sales funnel or something, you also have the data on that too, right? And, if you're sitting there, like, well, I don't have a sales funnel, I don't know, like only a few people came through, there's other ways to tell. I mean, for example, if you're doing a Facebook Live, for example, you have a Facebook group, people already opted into your Facebook group, you have a couple new people, notice hopped on your Facebook Live, they were really engaged, they were talking with you on the live, leaving comments, even reach out to them afterwards, say, hey, it was so cool to have that conversation with you on this live. Like, do you want to hop on a call and see, how I can help you with X, Y, and Z? Like, it becomes so natural to want to connect. Like, once you start doing it, you love it, and you start actually thriving on it. Like, I want to talk to my people,
Yeah.
You look for those opportunities and they become so apparent to you. And it can be so natural. I mean, of course, it's, we do want to close more sales. It is a numbers game, but even besides that, it's connecting with people. It's finding out more of what they want so you can customize your offers to better suit their needs. And even too, I'll even touch on the post-purchase process. I don't have any DIY courses now, but I used to do courses for people who wanted to DIY their marketing. And whenever I launched a new course, when I had people sign up, I would, as soon as I seen that they had gone through it and they were done, I would pick up the phone and I would call them and say, thank you so much for going through this. Like, what did you think? And within, I think it was 5 phone calls, seriously, I knew exactly what I would do differently for my next launch, like that. And yes, you have data to back it up also, but nothing replaces that personal conversation. It's really so valuable. Like, even setting aside just a couple hours in your week to do this and get on the phone with people and connect with them. It can, the benefits are everywhere in all areas. Like I said, I mean, from beginning to pre-sale people who have come in when they're leads, to post-purchase, the whole thing, it's nothing beats conversations.
It's such great market research. That was one of the things that I was going to say. And as someone who signs up on other people's podcasts, signs up on their summits, signs up, I've been someone that's participated in being that person filling it out. I can tell you there's times, I wish someone would call me, because I would say to them, I love you. I adore you. I know what you're doing. I'm a business person as well. But when I sign up for your podcast, I don't want to fill in 15 spots. I just don't. I'll send you my bio. I'll send you this. I'll send you that. But they won't let you go further unless you do. So sometimes I put in words like, hey, you know what I mean? And so, because it's you know what I mean? There's just sometimes I'm like, I know we're not going to talk about 15 points on a 20-minute conversation. So there's just different things that I would give feedback to. And it's been great learning for me. It's been great learning for me. I'm like, ooh, I don't want to do that. Or I really like that. That's a really great idea. But it's good market research, because all of those little nuances and the process of people to sign up, or what they get or what they don't, or what have you, is really helpful information. It may not be something you implement, and it may not be something someone might go, I don't really care that it takes you 15 minutes to fill out my podcast form. I only want my tribe are people that are willing to hang in there and do the 15 minutes. You're clearly not my tribe. Right? We could not be someone's tribe, and that's okay. Or they could not be ours. It tells us that we're swimming in the wrong marketing pool. Okay, that's cool. But it is very disclosing in terms of information. Let's talk about a little bit. I know, I think we've, shared that you guys are going to be picking up the phone. You're going to have those conversations, have that content. Even saying thank you is so very important. I've just incorporated a thank you system, right? And it's incredible. Now, a lot of people will send out gifts or send out cards or what have you. And I've chosen to do that. I do both, but the words that I use, when I'm sending out cards. So the words that I use, they're my words. So important that they're my words. I really sit and take time. If I send you a birthday message, it's because I've really thought about it, and people will respond to that. So you can do automated things that actually come with a personal piece. They really you can not lose yourself in that and really get that. But let's talk a little bit about success tracking. We talked about that, tracking your success. We talked about contact points. It can be before, can be after, but tracking your success as a reverse engineer person who loves to track and get stats, who I had to learn about that as well. What do you got to say about that? How does people start to track their success or know what works?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think one of the most, maybe the most important precursor to success is knowing what you're aiming for. Have an idea. Okay, this is how many, courses or whatever it is I want to sell, or services. This is how many I want to sell. Okay, then how many people do I need to get on the phone with? How many people do I need to have at my webinar? How many people do I need to get on my list? So it's all a numbers game. And then along that way, so what we do is funnel mapping, and we know different percentages along that journey that you need to be aware of to get the conversion that you're looking for. Is everything going to go perfectly according to plan and hit every single number along that along that funnel map? No, of course not. But you have to have a good idea of what you're aiming for. So, for example, if you want to have, like 10 of your spots filled, and you've already done some courses before that are similar, look at your previous data. Even if you haven't been doing a good job about it, look at it and say, okay, like I had this many webinars and this many people signed up, this many people showed up, and how many people actually bought. And that will even give you a good idea of going forward, how you can better track that. And then going forward, yes, if you're not using like some tracking software and you don't have a good handle on it, just a simple spreadsheet. Or Deb, I know you have some really good tools as well that just blow my mind. so well thought out. That, and just going through, because once you do that process and you do it diligently one time for one of your offers, you are going to feel so much more confident in your business decisions going forward. And when I talk about business decisions, I mean, that data can even inform, the lead time that you need for a live event in the future. Okay, I thought I only needed this many, people to come to my webinar, to my event, to sell this. Actually, it took 3 times that amount. So next time I better start promoting this a few months earlier than I did this time. And the more data you have, the better decisions that you can make. So I think, and of course, like keeping track of your conversations and your leads and what's going on is just good business. But it's really important for long-term success too, to have a handle on those numbers.
I think, obviously I have a book called Success Tracker, and I obviously have created an entrepreneurial planner based on reverse engineering. And I just want to really lay down and reiterate what it is Melissa talked about in terms of, so she calls it success tracking. I call it reverse engineering. It doesn't really matter. It's about having an end goal, right? 2 things that I heard you say. You have an end goal. So that end goal is that, here's an interesting one. I'm doing a book and it has enough room for 262. So my end goal is already decided. If you have a Zoom that's maxed out at 100, your end goal is already decided. You're having, your goal is to have 100 people, and tracking your success. So knowing what you did on a summit last year, or someone else did on a summit of similar topic, or there's a lot of different things that will come into play to success. And so if you have your number, reverse engineering, I mean, I could look over here, and I know for those of you that are listening, not, viewing, I'm kind of turning over to look at another wall, and I've got my whole calendar for 2024. I've got 2023. I know now that when I'm doing the first summit, 3 months prior to that summit is when we first start doing our marketing. And what does that marketing look like? That's called success tracking. Now, it might seem like, oh, wow, I haven't done that yet I've got a summit coming up in 2 months. It's okay. You can always start. And everything you do is your stats for the next thing that you do, right? And that's also makes, like you said, it can actually change decisions. I've changed dates before. I've changed days before. Our last planner launch was on a Friday night. And, me and Dorothea afterwards sat there and dissected it the next day. Okay, did we hit the numbers that we want? And if we didn't, was because we picked a Friday night? Was it because we didn't get the information out in time? Was it that the speakers didn't get the information so they could get it out in time? And it gives you all the elements to work with. And then what did we do? We completely revamped and changed because we wanted to have a higher yield. Now, was it unsuccessful? No, it was actually very successful because one, people, came and attended and had beautiful experiences. But the other thing is it gave us data. And I think that's the most important thing with success tracking, is that it gives you the data. And if you're smart and you keep track of the people that have come to things in the past, then that will allow you to let them know and really build that tribe of things that you got going on in the future, right? So I think success tracking is critical, and actually recognizing that there's steps that are taken. And that's why people honestly, do a lot of hiring out when it comes to marketing or learning about marketing, right? Is because it's within those success pieces. Like you said, there's multiple pieces to a success of an event. And again, if you want to think about a wedding, they didn't just get there standing at the end going, I do, or cutting their first piece of cake without this, and the photography was at 11, and the guests went here, and then they were given their, their invitation, and it was sent to their text and blah, blah. Like there's all this process so that you have a beautiful, successful day or launch or product release or class, or even things that you're doing throughout your classes, right? Even things that you're giving information on the 5th week instead of the 1st week, because they're not ready for it on the 1st, So
yeah. Yeah. And I
anyways.
think a really interesting metric too, that a lot of people don't keep track of. And now if you are following up with your leads and also tracking that process, what you're also going to get a good idea of is how long is your average customer journey. So if you don't know that right now, and if you have a bit of data to go look at it, that also can provide a lot of insight. So I feel like anybody in e-com kind of typically has a better handle on that, but it's not commonly talked about in other service-based businesses. And it's really interesting to me because it also ties into the part of, why are you bringing people into your world and then you stop the contact points? I mean, picking up the phone is one thing, but also, are you emailing your list? Are you on social media engaging with them? Are you inviting them to new events and stuff like that? Like, don't just let them go cold. And once you know how long your customer journey is, you also know, okay, I definitely have to make sure that I'm keeping in touch with people for a minimum of this time, because that's how long people are taking to make a decision and their buying process for my specific offer. And it's just, yeah, like once you tracking data, the follow-up, it all starts working together. I love the term snowball effect. I use this with everything. He's on a client meeting today, talking about her lead generation and incorporating different marketing channels and stuff like this. And it really is when you start taking just a little bit of time to do these things, it can really start moving the needle quicker in ways that you may have not even thought of when you started doing it, but you start seeing all these benefits everywhere and having these aha moments that you would have had otherwise.
Yeah, that happens. So, I have a success tracker and I teach many people. So, when you put literally you write it in when you first met this person, where you met them, their form of communication. Then when you start to have that rapport, like they've come to this, they've come to that. I always say you never do more than 3 AIs without personal contact. So 3 texts, 3 emails. And then, if they're engaging in this process with you, pick up the phone. It's like injection every 3 times, but most people don't really make that close or that sale to that 8th to 12th time that you meet them or have a conversation with them. But because I tell people to use a success tracker, you carry that along when you're having that conversation. You write that information down, renovating their house or their dog's name's, Purple or whatever it is, right? You start to have that bridged conversation. So even if they do go away for a year, they remember something more than your email. That's the other thing when you talk about, you never know when someone's going to come into your circle either. It could be 2 years from now. It could be 4 years from now. And they don't remember the emails. They don't probably remember the text, but they remember that personal touch or the comment that you made to something really important on their social or something that felt really personal. But it is interesting knowing your sales. We kind of call it retention. Like, what's your retention? How long do your people stay with you? What are you doing to manage that retention? And I think it also, one of the things that we fall privy for is when we see people that like, oh, they went to 7 figures in 6 months or whatever it is. We have this automatic, they must have so many people following them. But I think the opposite can be true for some people, that you can hit 6 figures, multiple 6 figures, 7 figures with a small tribe as well. You can, depending on what the cost of your process is, the cost of your products, what have you. You don't have to have that dollar store mentality where everything you charge is $1, so you have to have massive. You might have a higher ticket item, so you don't have to be. You could have 100 people help you hit that number compared to 100,000 people hit that number. So sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, if I want to hit 7 figures, how could I possibly ever call everybody? Well, I guess it depends on what it is that you're serving people with, right? So I think that's also a thing that clouds people over is, oh my gosh, right? How could I possibly talk to that many people? Or yeah. Anyways.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you definitely want to make sure that you're spending time on those, on the leads. Like when you are committing to that kind of a time investment to get on the phone with someone, they've already, gone through some steps. And yeah, I think everyone kind of knows who those people are in their world.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're definitely not going to be calling everyone who just simply only opted into your free guide.
Right. Well, and that's where, I mean, I know we're wrapping up a little bit, but that's where
Yeah.
having someone that does handle your marketing, digital marketing, what have you, it's, your expertise falls in that multiple point of interest. And what does that multiple point of interest look like, right? It could be a post, it could be an ad, it could be a phone call, it could be a flyer, it could be multiple things that are geared towards that same result and that same person. And that person is part of your culture, need, or want. And how do you know that? And how do you maintain that? And how do you foster that? And how do you succeed from that? And how do you help them succeed from it as well? So it helps us. It just helps, right? It just helps. Like, we're all out there doing the best to serve. So how can we do that in a way that, I always say, value to value, right? You know what I mean? Like, value to value. So there has to be value on both sides. Do you have anything else that you'd want to share with us in this topic whatsoever, of contact points or tracking systems, or following up with your leads, or having more success from your marketing before we let you go get some marketing done?
Sure. I think in terms of like follow-up and tracking, don't overthink it. You don't have to get really complicated with it. You can even just get a notebook. You can create one simple Excel sheet. Don't overthink it. Just start keeping track. One thing that I like to mention to help put things into perspective is, sometimes with people we don't see every day, how many times have you opened your phone to, call them or even send them a message? You're like, oh my goodness, I have not reached out to them in like 3 months. Things get past you. You like a lot of time can go between contact points if you're not tracking it. So yeah, just start. Don't overthink it. Just start, and you will start to see the benefits from it quicker than you think.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again for being with us today. We all rely on your wonderful advice, and it's been super, super helpful. And I know that we've got another class that's going to be coming up soon. And so you guys are fantastic audiences. Share, send this out to your people. I mean, the reason why Melissa comes on here is to really help us be the best that we can, which is why we were so grateful to have someone come on in relationship digital marketing, because that's what we need, right? That's what we need support in, everything that we can do that just edges us that much forward to having success. So thank you so much for coming on. And if you would like to be where Melissa's sitting and you'd like to come on and you'd like to share your wisdom about your business or what it is that you offer in terms of your products and service, you know where to reach us. And I think we did cover a little bit about the planner, the reverse engineer planner, and the success tracker that is hot on the market right now. Obviously, it's all about reverse engineering and having you have success, but also just the function of your day. So if you have interest in that, you can go to debdrummond.com. Super easy, debdrummond.com, and you can look up products, and you can look up trackers, and you can look up planners, and you can get one for yourself. So thanks for coming on, Melissa. We will, I know, see you again soon. And you guys just keep being great and keep being fabulous. And Melissa, I know I've asked you this question before, but because there's a lot of music going on in the world right now, I'm going to ask you again. And I know that you were probably unprepared for this because you've handled it once, but let's say that you're taking a trip back to that desert island and you are packing a whole new suitcase, taking a whole new album with you to listen for the rest of your days. What's the album that you would take with you today?
Ooh, you know what? I would have to survive off of my nostalgic memories of probably the Spice Girls.
Woo! That's the first one. That's the first one we've had that. That is so awesome.
Yeah.
Spice Girls. My daughter dressed up for her as Halloween.
Oh,
Right?
awesome.
I know. What is it? Baby Spice. There's Sporty Spice and Baby Spice and Posh. No, what is it? Sport.
Yeah.
Baby.
Posh.
Posh. Okay, there you go. There's my memory, you guys. You'll have to look it up and listen to Spice Girls. All right. Thanks so much for sharing today, Melissa. And you guys be cool, and we'll see you again. So till next week, be groovy. Bye for now.